It's time for the 32081 Scoreboard Show. Let's recap the latest weekly scores and highlights from around the county.
And thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of the 32081 Scoreboard Show. As always, I'm the Todd, and to my right, the man, the myth, the legend, the hardest working sports reporter in St. Johns County, Mr. Anthony Richards. How are you doing, Anthony?
I'm doing great, Todd. Football's wrapping up, or just get going.
I feel like it's getting started.
Playoffs, yeah. The second season is about underway, right?
It's kind of. We got one more game this week that we're going to cover, but I feel like it's weird. It's like right at the end, but now with everyone in the playoffs, almost it seems like we're right at the beginning. So it's kind of crazy, right? And then you truly start over 0-0, so 0-0. So. Listen, before we get started, real quick, I got some updates from Miss Rosati over at Ponte Vedra. And she sent me over some stuff going on over there with the athletic teams. And I'd just like to give some updates here. First of all, boys golf, as far as individual results recently, Jake Mason, he's in 10th grade. He tied for first place. Now get this, Anthony, I know you probably shoot better, but he shot 68. He shot 4 under par. So he might be able to take you. He might be able to take you. I'm just saying. I don't know. Maybe
I think he's got me right there.
Oh, he's got me. I'm telling you that right now.
Yeah.
Because 68, that's my front nine. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
And then also the team overall, they shot 7 under par and they actually won by 9 shots. The second place was Beachside at 2 over. So very impressive for the boys golf team. And also, they also did this with their number 3 player, Cooper Franklin. He didn't play because he was sick. So James Nagel came in and he actually shot 1 under par. So great way for the Ponte Vedra Sharks boys golf team. They're going to be ready to defend pretty soon, coming up here in a couple weeks. And then the girls team, let's see, Stella Moritz. She finished first place in districts and she's now at regionals. And then this is the other thing. Their cross country teams, the boys and girls, now check this score out. They dominated districts. The boys won with 34 points. And, it's kind of like golf, right? The lowest score wins. Second place, 61. The girls, 33. Second place, 79. They just dominated cross country in the district. So good for them. And then last but not least, the Ponte Vedra Sharks swimming team. They are taking their largest team to state this Friday. The girls are going to go for their 4th straight title. Penny Zarkinski, and I apologize if I pronounced that last name wrong, but she seated first in her 2 events. And then Lily Doyle is going to go after a repeat in first place in the 500 free. And Katie Pillow, if I pronounce that right, is going for her repeat in the 100 backstroke. And then also the 200 medley and the 200 free relays, they're going to go for, get this, a 4-peat. Could be a quad squad right there. And then on the boys' side, Thomas Smith is looking to grab a title for the boys, which will be the Sharks first. So that's great. How about that? Doing great. All the sports are doing good in St. Johns County. So hopefully we'll continue to get updates from other schools as well. We'd like to thank Ms. Rosati for sending those over today.
Yeah, it's great to hear all the other sports doing great. I was able to stop out and get some photos at the swimming districts a couple of weeks ago, and both Nice and Ponte Vedra were just dominating in the pool. So it's great to see. Yeah,
it's fantastic. Before we jump, first of all, I do want to thank Rob Farley for joining us for the special edition that we did on officials. I highly recommend it for especially parents. You might think the rules, and they're different at high school and middle school than they are at college and pros. So be sure to go back and listen to that if you didn't, because I think it'll be very interesting. So I'd like to thank Rob for taking time out to join us. And I think, Anthony, I talked to you that I had the opportunity to stop Coach Matt Potek over when Nice played Beachside. And if anyone doesn't know Coach Potek, I'll be surprised, because he's all over the place and he knows all the players. He was over at Menendez. He's at Nice now. And I stopped to ask him about the overall current status of football in St. Johns County. And I thought what he had to say was very interesting. I want to play that for you right now. Hey, Coach. First of all, great win.
Yeah, thanks.
Got a quick question for you. I know you know a lot about St. Johns County football, and I've been saying right now it's the strongest. You've got Ponte Vedra, Creekside knotted up. You guys had a great game, great win here at Beachside. St. Augustine, the list goes on.
Yeah,
how
Menendez
strong?
Won tonight. My boys at Menendez won. They finished 6-4 this year. Yeah, they did. They beat Yulee. They finished. They're in the playoffs too. So it's from south end all the way to the north end. I love all these guys, man.
So is this probably one of the best years you've seen for St. Johns County
Absolutely.
football?
Oh, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. Every school is really good, and being all these years of being an assistant and being a head coach in the past, and now being an assistant again, and it's from top to bottom, this is the best county in Florida, in my opinion. I know I sound biased, but no, every week you got great coaches in this county. Not only head coaches, but you got great assistant coaches. Like I said, from the south part of St. John's all the way to the north part of St. John's, and love all of them. And obviously we compete against each other every week. We get after each other every week, but I think there's a good respect also for all the coaches in St. Johns County, just because I think that, we all put we all put a lot of work in. Obviously, I think we put a ton of work in for our staff. But I know these guys. I know a lot of the coaches in this area, and we're all putting in a lot of work. And I definitely think it's, and it started, a lot of these guys, a lot of these coaches came from, as younger coaches at the middle school level or at the JV level, and then they've worked up to varsity. But like I said, top to bottom, and you've seen it as well. Like, it's starting with the JV levels all the way to varsity this year. It's been a great year.
Awesome. So, Anthony, you've been covering, St. Johns County football for a while, longer than I have. And I got to ask you, we've talked about the JV programs. We've talked about these teams being built up. Is this now getting to the best, or what you've seen as the best over the years with the representation of all the high schools in St. Johns County in the football programs?
I really do think, yeah. I mean, you could even argue like this year is, you could argue that it's like a banner year for the county as a whole, because, in past years, Nice would make a run to the Elite Eight, or, make a run the state title game. Back in the Tebow days, you'd have St. Augustine making runs. Bartram would have years when they make runs, but it's kind of like one or two teams, really making a run. But this year it seemed like across the board, you had teams, threatening for district titles, legitimate, chances throughout the season, to make the playoffs. And there's really it didn't seem like there's no weak link. Every team is strong throughout the county, and that's pretty rare and pretty special for, look across other counties throughout the state to have just all your teams, successful and, with legitimate chances to win every single week in and week out, no matter who they're playing. And talk about making yourself stronger by competing within the county, like so many of these schools do. They challenge and they schedule each other, and it just makes you stronger when, it rises, the tide rises all ships, and you're seeing that years and years of, great JV programs are coming into play, and just the commitment this county has put towards football. You can see it.
Yeah, and we even added Beachside to the mix, right? And they're making the district. So yeah, it's just incredible.
Yeah, and Tecoy, so the newer schools are coming in, and they're just like, it's like they're just taking hardly any time. They're just kind of tagging on to what the kind of the schools that are already established are having success, and then the young schools are just showing up and kind of grabbing things and hitting things from the get go. So I mean, it's just really great to see just such a deep county. I mean, it's fun to cover too. It's probably my most favorite year that I've ever, and I've been doing this a while, that I've ever covered. So yeah, thanks to all the success.
So we have a couple games to talk about, obviously, this game. And then we've got one out there that I call the Dangler, where we're going to have Nice and Bartram with the makeup game. And so next week will really be our playoff show. Coach Price is going to join us this week, and I'm sure we'll be able to talk to Coach Drafts and Nice after the game against Bartram. So let's go and start off with Panthers, and let's talk about this game that they had over at Creekside. We both were right about this one. It was not a shootout like we thought. It was a close game, 35-30, but it was not the typical 56-50 type of game that we've seen Creekside play. So their defense did step up a little bit. But again, Brian Case he comes out of the gate, 3 rushing touchdown. He tacks on a passing touchdown. I think I had his numbers like at 177 total for all-purpose yards, 162 rushing. The other thing, too, that I thought interesting about the stats when I looked at this from an offensive standpoint was that Drew was 13 of 17 for 183 yards, completed 77% of his passes. He had 1 touchdown, 1 interception. But here's one of the keys that we've been talking about, Anthony, is that he hit 6 different receivers in this game. And I've got to say, that's got to be helpful for them. And we'll talk a little bit more about the playoffs, but that's got to be helpful for them going up against Beachside, it looks like, in the first round.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially to put that versatile of a passing game to go with Brian, in the backfield, which we know what he can do. And if that passing game is just continue to develop throughout the year, it can only be, very potent and really open even more things up for Brian. And he doesn't need much more of a crease or much more room to work with as he does. He's averaging well over 100 yards. And so, I mean, if you give him more flexibility or more comfortability and more holes to run through, then he could be pushing close to 200 yards.
And I think when you look at the fact that Creekside only scored 30 points, it really shows that their defense kept Sean Ashtonfelder in check. Yeah,
it did. I mean, he had some success on the ground throughout the game. He was really, really running hard. But yeah, the Sharks, kind of at times had a kind of a bend but don't break approach. And, The 30 points is like the second most they've given up, the most since the Fleming Island game. So it was, a little more points than the PV defense is used to. But at the same time, you always felt like they were in control. They were giving up yards, but at the same time, they had the lead, and they felt, you still felt like, okay, the Sharks are in control of this game, even though Creekside is hanging around for the whole bit of it.
Now, I think the one thing that we've also talked about is how Ponte Vedra has constantly gotten better as the season has gone on, even with their losses. They've bounced back and they seem to come back stronger. And when you look at the numbers for the defense, it's a big sign right there. You look at Pollock, he had 10 tackles. Babin came in with 9. Houseman came in with 7. And this is other key. 6 other players had 6 tackles, and they also had 4 sacks in the game. I mean, that just says something really. And now they've got a week off to kind of rest up, get ready for districts. I think this team is going to take real advantage of that. I think this is a team that, we'll talk about Nice a little bit later, but I think this is a team that can take this time off, reset, watch additional film, approach it very businesslike. And I just think with the way the defense is clicking now, with an effort all around, I think they're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, for sure. And the seniors really kind of came through and stepped up, which is always nice to see on senior night, right? I mean, JM, like you mentioned, JM Pollock, he was really flying around like I hadn't even seen, in certain games this year. And that adds an extra dimension, to the safety. So, like, it was great to see that type of play out of him. And these seniors are really starting to carry just the team as a whole, but especially on the defensive side. And, yeah, that week off is going to be very, very huge. It's always good to rest up in a physical game like football. And, they don't mind having that bye for sure.
And then Noah Ash again tacks on 5 of 5 extra points. And I think that's huge because you're going to have some close games in the districts. And if you can have a kicker like, Noah Ash, and you've got also Tyler Gazenfari, who on the other side was 6 of 6 for his extra points. I just think the kickers are playing such a critical role now in some of these games that having these kickers, especially like Noah Ash for Ponte Vedra, and you're going up against a Beachside in that first round, it's really nice to have him and his leg there.
Yeah, because you get in the playoffs, the margin is tighter. It's the tightest it's ever going to be.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I've seen games where, like, if you don't have a kicker, you go in hoping that doesn't come back to haunt you. And these teams, they go in knowing this is a positive for us, and it could actually be the difference in the game. It could be the winning field goal, or it could be that 1-point margin that you need at the end of the day. Not to mention kickoffs, to have the ability to just feel confident that you have a guy with a strong enough leg to just kick it in the end zone every time and not have to worry about, the extra dimension of, the opponent's kickoff return and the dangerous kickoff returner hurting you. I mean, that's huge as well. So it brings so many aspects in a positive way that coaches can really lean on.
So now we go across US 1. Nice travels over to Beachside. And again, the east side keeps the winning intact when you're crossing over US 1. Nate Harry finished with 205 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. KJ Perry led the Panthers with 113 total rushing yards. He also had 41 yards receptions. He had a total of 3 touchdowns, 2 rushing and 1 passing. Maddox Spencer, the go-to receiver, led receivers with 3 for 71 yards and 1 touchdown. As far as the offense is going here, and again, Tyler Gazenfari continues to connect with his legs, 6 of 6 extra points, which is, like we just talked about, is going to be key. I don't know how much more we can say about this offense, Anthony. They're clicking. I mean, they really are. And Beachside, they threw some. I don't know about you because I know you're over in the second half. They threw some different looks at Nate, and you could tell there were some batted balls. There was, some different stuff stopped in the backfield with Anthony Moses and everything. But the one thing is that the Panthers were learning from it. That's what's interesting about this offense. They learned from it, and then before you know it, the score is just out of control again. And again, they won this one easily. So it just seems like this offense all around now, the offensive line, the running backs, and the receivers, and of course led by Nate Harry, like I said, it's just clicking on all cylinders.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're learning from it, and they don't have to wait and just try to get to halftime before they make the adjustments. They're making it as the quarter's going, as first half's going. So they don't, they're making it as they come to the sideline when the defense is back out there. They're making the quick adjustments, so they're not just making adjustments, but they're making them in a hurry and on the fly. And that's going to go a long way again, as you get into the postseason, because it's going to be a constant, boxing match between coaches and players of kind of just what scheme's working and constantly kind of shifting or adjusting on the fly. And the best staff and the best players that can do it the quickest are going to be your winner, in the playoffs. And Nice has shown great ability to do that on both sides of the ball, and it's really really great, and it really provides some complementary football for sure.
And I think on the defensive side, when you look at it, it gets scarier and scarier every week. It seems like just a few weeks ago we were talking about Joe Miracle the third, and now he just came out in the second half and just blew things up in the game. Well, then all of a sudden you try to play him for Joe, and then guess what? Here comes Jacob Curry with 4 tackles for a loss. Chase Bogle coming in with 2. Devin with 2. Zach Taylor with 1, and then Kyle Hurtado with 1. You don't have enough people to double team everyone on this defense. And that's almost what it seems like you need to do, because if you go after one, you never know if you go after Joe Miracle, Noah Hodge is going to bust through. You don't know if we'll take care of Noah and Joe. No, then there might be Jacob or Devin it's just insane. And I think I like their chances going deep here, but going up against Bartram, we'll talk about, this defense is something special. And I just don't know how an offensive coordinator really plans for a defense this good.
Yeah, no, it's extremely hard, and it's kind of like, we'll let you know when someone actually does figure it out, because none of their opponents have been able to this season. That's why they're undefeated. And also, like talking about the complementary, the offense helping the defense and vice versa. The fast starts that Nice has gotten in the last couple of weeks, especially, is huge, especially for the defense. Like if the first time the opposing offense takes the field, they're already down 7-0. It already puts them in a kind of that mindset of like, oh man, we're already kind of getting out of our game plan. We're almost chasing already. And that's not a good recipe for success at all against this Nice defense. Like when you mentioned, they can come at you in waves from the defensive front, linebackers, secondary can blitz. It doesn't, there's so many options they have. They can blitz from all different angles. And when they can pin their ears back and just get after you because they know the offense has already gotten the lead for them, that's just to a T, the complementary football, and that's a dangerous concept right there.
And then to really tack it on, the last 2 weeks that we've seen is now their special teams are starting to get in on the mix, because we always knew Tyler was a good kicker, but now all of a sudden you had Elijah Luckett 2 weeks ago with the return for the touchdown against Decoy. Now he comes back off the corner and blocks an extra point try in this game, which, again, we're talking that 1 point can become huge later on down in a game in the playoffs. So, again, it just seems it's all coming together, and they got one more game to go, and that's, I think, kind of like I want to lead you into when you look at this team and how they're clicking and all the 3 parts are coming together. They've got one more game this week to close out the quote regular season before they go into districts. I said earlier, I think Ponte Vedra is going to take this extra week. They look at it very business-like. They're going to be able to, they can regroup and really get together. However, I think with Nice, they've had those couple of hiccups with the schedule early on with the Hurricanes. And I think in this case, I think this group just wants to play. So I think them actually having a Thursday night game and then be able to play the following Friday, I don't know what you think, but I actually kind of like that setup for Nice, and I think it's something they're going to feed off of.
Yeah, especially since, like you said, they've kind of developed this rhythm now and this flow to the game in all 3 aspects, that it's almost like you just want to keep, like you said, keep playing, and a week off might actually hinder where they're at right now, because now you're just sitting for a week and kind of watching film and all, but you're just sitting, you're not playing. And they're at the point where they're really clicking on all cylinders, it seems like, and at the perfect time of year when you need to be here at the end.
Yep.
And so, you just want to keep playing, like the game ends, you just wins the next game. You want to roll the ball out and let's kick it off and play 2 days later. When teams are on a roll like this, you just got to keep feeding it, and they just want to just keep playing, and that's going to take you a long way. That feeling that this could be momentum that carries them all the way through to a state title.
Agreed. And hey, congratulations to Ponte Vedra. Enjoy the week off. Congratulations on finishing your regular season and making it into the playoffs. Now let's fast forward to this Thursday and talk about this game with Nice against Bartram. Bartram's found a little bit of life here. Colson Baum's come in as a quarterback the last 2 games, and yes, they demolished Ribault, but let's really compare it against the Buchholz game, because that's what Nice played. And the Bears actually took Buchholz into overtime, and it was a 38-37 win for Buchholz on the last, I think it was an extra point try from Colson Baum pass that was knocked down by the defender. They played them very tight in that game. Anthony, I don't see how the Nice Panthers are going to lose this game. I think that while Colson can scramble, I think this defense is too fast. We saw him against Eddie Jordan, who's a very good quarterback, very fast on his feet. They were able to contain him very well. I think this is going to be a lopsided matchup. I'm thinking maybe 2 to 3 touchdowns again, but I think, like I said, I think Bartram's going to put up a little bit of a fight, but I just don't see their offense getting into a rhythm. So again, I'm picking the Panthers here by 3 touchdowns, and I think they're going to roll into the playoffs on a high note.
Yeah, and just the opportunity to go undefeated as well. Finish the regular season.
I
undefeated.
wasn't going to say that.
Yeah.
I was not going to say that. See, you jinxed it. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, but that's
someone
a huge
told me
thing.
do not talk about that.
Yeah, because I mean, I know like some people, have mentioned to me that they kind of wish this was for like the district, or Nice needed to play this game, see it, kind of see it through for the district title, and didn't have it already wrapped up. But I'm like, but you're playing for an undefeated season, such a special thing. It always is, and it always will be. So the fact that you have that on the line, that's plenty of momentum that Nice needs to just kind of keep playing their ball and doing their thing. And and I know Bartram, they're always dangerous. This isn't the kind of the Bears type of team that we've got accustomed to seeing over the years, but they got athletes, and they like they did against Buchholz, they can hang in there and make it close, and it's going to be a game for a while. But yeah, I think the Panthers are just the better team at this point, and they've got kind of too much ride on the line. That undefeated season is going to fuel these guys. It's going to be something they're going to want and they're going to be hungry for. So yeah, I think Panthers definitely all the way.
And Anthony, you're right. I mean, and when you look at that, the possibility of going undefeated, which is very rare at this level of football when you're talking 6A, in Florida high school football. But you're right, because a lot of people could look at this and go, wait a minute, you know what? Nice, yeah, they're undefeated, but they're looking towards the playoffs, and they're going to be really concerned with that. I don't think so with this team. I think this team wants it. I think they want it bad. And I think they're going to come out and they're going to give 100%. And I think they're going to get the W. Normally some people would look at this, I guess what I'm saying, as a trap game. And I just don't see it as a trap game with the mentality that these players have.
Yeah. And I mean, and they've kind of just had it all year, and like we said, like we've said before, like they just love to play the game. So really, this isn't a team that you feel like you need to motivate. I haven't seen that all year. I think it's just a naturally, just a team that just loves a bunch of football players. They just love to play football, and they can't wait for the next game. So you don't really need to motivate them, but then you pile that on top of the fact that they just love to play football. And it's a really dangerous combination, and that's what the Bears are going to be facing this week. And
in fact, I was able to catch up with Devin after the game, and I'd like to go ahead and play the interview for you real quick. But what I did is I asked him, I said, as far as when you look at what the Bartram Bears are going to see in defense against the Panthers, I asked him, what is it with the conditioning? Because, Anthony, they look like they get stronger as the game goes on. They don't look like they get tired. So I asked him, what is it? Is it conditioning? Is it coaching? What's keeping you guys going in the fourth quarter? And here's what he had to say. Well, let me ask you this. You guys seem to be getting stronger and stronger as the game goes on. What do you attribute that to? Is it your conditioning? Is it just you guys getting fired up?
It's our defensive coach. He's always there, hyping us up, not to get our head down. We let up some big plays, and then we just come back. We get a regroup, come together as a team, and we get a stop. And there's momentum. Just build our momentum up.
But that's what it seems like. It seems like you said, you guys don't get down after a big play, but you learn from it, and you guys just get stronger as the game goes on.
Yeah. That's all it is.
So, Anthony, I will say this. I'm going to make one more prediction. With this the only game in town, and it's against Bartram at Nice, I think the stands are going to be a little extra packed.
Oh, for sure. With so many teams off, this is, already a big game, and now it is the marquee game. So, yeah, and this game like this deserves that. It deserves a huge kind of feel to it, because these are two, really great teams, and it's always fun when these two meet on the football field.
So with that, Anthony, I'm guessing. Hold on, let me think here. So, I'm going to guess that you're going to be at Nice this week. That's my guess.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. This is probably the easiest week to choose where to go.
Yeah, and you don't have to worry about the helicopter, right? You can drive this one, so you don't have to worry about landing on the helicopter. So,
yeah.
Anthony, thanks again for joining us this week. I appreciate it. I can't wait to talk some playoff football with you next week.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's start that second season.
That sounds great. All right, for Anthony Richards, be sure to check him out on Twitter. That's ANTNY Rich. That's ANTNY Rich. Also, check out his stories. He's got some great ones over there at PonteVedraRecorder.com. For Anthony, I'm the Todd. Thank you for listening to the 32081 Scoreboard Show.
Thank you for listening to the 32081. We hope you enjoyed today's episode.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
Please don't forget to subscribe to the show so you can join us for the next episode.
I never miss an episode. It's the best.
Until next time, take care.